So when I started this job in January 2020, one of the very first invitations I got was to a community resilience and wildfire meeting that the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians organized and was hosting for a number of the area tribes. There were representatives from PG&E and the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service. Among the topic areas was emergency response preparedness, home hardening, fuel load reduction, and a tour of an ongoing fuel load reduction project that they had going on. If you've heard any of our prior radio shows, you're going to recognize those as the basics. Those are the things that every community needs to be organized around and focused on to survive and thrive in a wildfire-prone environment. Not only does the Hopland Band have cultural experience on how to live in this wildfire-adopted landscape over the long haul, but they're also very engaged in modeling what we should all be doing to adapt to our current situation. They've been doing a lot of things we should all be paying attention to and are reaching out to their peers, which we should also all be doing. Over the course of the meeting, I mentioned that we were in the process of getting a chipper, and they mentioned that they had members who could operate one and a lot of work that they wanted to get done. So from that has spun out some cooperation. We've given also so that we share at least one other fundamental concern, which is how to live in this fire-adapted landscape without ruining it, how to go on doing our fire mitigation work while preserving the natural landscape and flora and fauna. Seemed like a great potential partnership. So we held our initial training with our brand new chipper on their land, and since then we've partnered and we have a crew from the tribe that did defensible space clearing for 16 elders' homes as part of one of our projects initially, and since then they've been staffing our chipper, including doing recently 12 days of clearing and work assistance up in the helping with the storm damage from the January snowstorm up in the Brook Trails area. So they've been doing tremendous work for the community. We'll touch more on those later. But with that, I want to turn it over to them and let them get started telling us a bit about themselves. And I'll start off with Sonny Elliott and ask if you can give us a little bit about yourself and what your position is there and why you're interested in this work.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sonny Elliott. I'm the tribal chairman for the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians. I've been the chairman for about 3 years. I've been on the tribal council for about 5 now. Prior to that, I was the environmental director for the Caddo tribe for about 7 years. We did a whole lot of environmental restoration projects and stream restoration, sediment reduction, and also fuel load reduction on the Caddo tribe lands up in Laytonville. So being a part of it, coming down here and getting a feel for kind of what the area in terms of the housing and the reservation and the need for actually the fuel load reduction projects that are important. I want to thank Scott for his willingness at the Mendocino Fire Safe Council to work with the tribe to start addressing some of these serious issues and to actually see the need that's out there for our community, obviously, but for the greater community here in Mendocino County to looking to address some of these problems and issues we have with fire. Obviously, it's getting worse. We've seen it over the last decade, especially with some of the biggest fires on record happening in our area. And so to know that these important projects are a way that we can start to address some of this issue and look to build on what we've already done. You know, we appreciate the dedication from the Fire Safe Council and all those other partners out there, PG&E, who has obviously contributed in a lot of ways recently for funding and getting us going. So we appreciate that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. We'll go to Orville.
Great. Orville Elliott's been helping us actually manage and run the chipper crew and lots more. And Orville, can you give us a bit of introduction to yourself?
I've been working for the tribe for last 40 years in one position or another. And this is by far one of the most rewarding projects that we've entered into. And when me and Scott first talked about it, it was a vision. And he was asking me if I thought I could get some guys together to make this happen. And I said, yeah, I could. And it's really rewarding to see it take off from the idea to actually happening, because these guys are doing a lot of work. We get a lot of good reviews on them, and they're really starting to feel good about themselves. And that's one of my main things I've always liked to do, is put these young guys to work and have them do some meaningful work, where they can stand back and look at it and say, yeah, I did that. And I can see it. I can see it in their demeanor, their eyes, and just everything about it. The more and more that we're doing work, the better and better they're feeling, and they're looking forward to a lot more work coming up. So I just hope that we can get some more money to continue this work. I know there's a lot of it that needs to be done out there. We were pretty lucky a couple of years ago when the Mendocino complex fire came right to our borders of our reservation, and it didn't come over the hill, but I'm thinking the next one might. So really eager and anxious to get a lot of this work done, especially in Hopland there and the surrounding country around our reservation. And I just want to thank Terry also. She's been up in the mix and really trying to get things going here. And she's always trying to help everybody. And it's really paid off this time. And thank you too, Scott. And I just look forward to doing a lot more of this work. And I think we got a good crew to do it. So that's about all I got to say right now.
Great. Thank you, Orville. Is there other folks out there that we want to introduce at this point, or should we?
Hi, good morning. This is Terry Mccartney. I'm the EPA director for the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians, and I've been working here for 12 years now, and the last 5 years as the EPA director. And we've been working on fuel load reduction in one way or another for almost all the time I've been here. And so we also have today two of our youth workers who I'd like to introduce also, Elena and Katie. Come here. So please come and introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Elena, and I've been enrolled in the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians my whole life. I've been living here my whole life. Terry has helped us a lot since I was younger. I can always remember all the field trips we go on and everything. And ever since I've been growing up, I just wanted to help the community as well. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Katie. Yeah, I mean, like Elena said, I've been a member my whole life, obviously. But and then like Orwell was saying, it does feel good to have done it and then see it be done, and then other people say like, oh yeah, it was nice, like it looks nice now and all this and that. But yeah.
Thank you all. That was great. And I'd like to kind of step back and do a little bit of big picture before we go into the specific projects that are going on out there. The tribe obviously has a long-standing relationship with wildfire, and dealing with it is been part of the culture for a long time. And I wonder if we can maybe start with Sunny to get a little bit of perspective from the tribe's perspective on working with wildfire and what we should be doing.
Yeah, just in general of like historical and obviously the tribe and many tribes for that matter, but have used fire throughout our history, culturally. It's a significant part of what we do when it comes to our dances, our ceremonies, and many things that surround that or evolve around that. And I think historically we've used it to clear the land, to clear the areas of brush, even things like ticks and pests that were in the area when we lived in the landscape. And so hunting, there was many different uses that we used for fire, and to clear the areas on the hillsides and to keep it natural. One thing that we've always really tried to inform people about when we talk about the natural landscape is that fire's always had a big part in that landscape. And, just recently, when we talk of the last 100 years or 150 years that fire really hasn't been, it's really starting to become unhealthy. We could see it in the hillsides and in the landscape that we look on. We could see that it's just unhealthy because a lot of that stuff was burned out. A lot of that underbrush, the understory was burned by fires over the years since the beginning of time. And now we've taken that out of the landscape, and we can see that there's a lot of issues going on when it comes to, obviously, drought plays a big part in it, but that's something that's always played a part in the history of the land. But not having fire there, not having fire to utilize, and we see that a lot of different people are coming out with controlled burns. They're introducing fire back into the landscape to bring back the health of the landscape, and it's really done some good. We see it in Ukiah. Just, I think yesterday, they're doing controlled burns in the valley. We see it all over, starting to pop back up a little bit more, and so it's a good thing. I think that we bring back some of that is a big thing for us, because that is part of the history and the culture of our people, and so to be able to see the fire back in the landscape, I think is a big deal.
Maybe we should shift to talking about some of the projects that are going on now. I guess one we'll come up to, we'll roll back to prescribed fire, because I believe the tribe is also participating in the prescribed burn association that the county's got going, but we'll get back to that a little bit later. Maybe a good place to start is with the Senior Defensible Space Program that happened out there. And Orville, would you be able to tell us a little bit about that work and how that went and what the project was there?
Okay, yeah, I think the defensible spacing project went pretty good. We did about, I think it was 14 or 15 homes, elders' homes and disabled. And we had a couple of guys come out. I can't remember their names right now, but they did some training on how to run chainsaws, the proper way to, prune the trees or cut the limbs. And it was really good for me, because my whole life I've been doing it a different way. And then when they came out and explained to me the proper way to do it and why, I was just like, wow. All this time I didn't know that I was doing it completely different. But the people the houses that we did were very, very grateful. I think they did a good job clearing like 5 feet around, 25 feet out, 10 feet up. And then the grass like 100 feet out. There's still a couple more that would like to do, but I think the guys that did it, that was their chance to prove themselves that they was really willing to get in there and do this kind of work. And so that's where we formed our crew at. And so they are the ones that have been going up to Brook Trails. We did a couple of spots over in McNabb Ranch. And we're really looking forward to some more. Everyone was looking forward to the Gualala project, but that didn't come through for, I don't know the reasons, but they're still willing to go out there. And like I said earlier, these guys they're really getting really enthusiastic and excited about the work. They're calling like every day. When are we going again? I said, probably next week. So it's really good, because we had a chipper that was, 25 years old maybe. And compared to the chipper that you guys brought out, the state-of-the-art one just makes it so much easier to do this kind of work.
Let's get into the chipper program a little bit while we're at the cusp of it, before we go on to the things that are happening out at the reservation currently. But just so people know, take a step back. So chipper days are one of the things that the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council does. We are just starting up the program again for this season, and it's funded for a number of days. But We are hoping to land a lot more funding. We're about to start scheduling the Hopland crew to go out and do days throughout the community. And if people are interested in that, the place to go is www.chipperday.com/Mendocino. So it's chipperday.com/Mendocino. And that will get you to an overall orientation page. And the first thing you'll see is a box where you can type in your address. And once you've typed in your address, one of two things will happen. It will either tell you that there's a day scheduled in your area and how many reservations are left, and you can take a reservation if there's one available in your area. Or it will tell you that there's not one available and ask if you'd like to be put on a waiting list. And if you get that option, it's really important for you to go ahead and get put on the waiting list, and maybe encourage your neighbors to get put on the waiting list as well, because it's that waiting list that we're going to use to figure out where we're going to send the crews next. So once we see that there are a number of people in a particular area that are interested in a day, we're going to know that that's a place that is going to be productive to go ahead and schedule a day. Another important thing to do in there, particularly to help us employ the crew that we're talking about from the tribe, is to let us know if you can take chips broadcast where they are. Because one of the things we don't have currently is a chip truck for them to be able to run the chips into, so they can haul them and take them to green waste or put them in a pile someplace else. So we're really looking for projects we could put together out in the community in an area where people can take their chips broadcast, so we can get the crew out there and active. But as you heard Orville say, the crew's eager and ready to go out and do more work, and we can use the community's help to make that happen by getting people registered for days, so we can start getting them scheduled and out there. So again, that's chipperday.com. You need the www in this case, chipperday.com/Mendocino. Before I turn it back over to Orville, I want to interject one other thing about how to help us, what the community can do to help us get the crew out there and working, which is we are hoping we're going to land more funding for this momentarily. We're waiting to hear from about a grant that's out to do more of that defensible space work. So that is work particularly for income eligible seniors and or people who are unable to do the work themselves for some reason. And although we do not have funding to go out and do it at the moment, we are again hoping we're going to land some shortly, and you can help us get ready for that by being registered and letting us know that you're interested. So the other thing you can do is go to our website, which is firesafemendocino.org. So firesafemendocino.org, and under community programs, in addition to the first thing there is the Chipper Day program. So you can see a list of places that we've got scheduled to go with the chipper. And the third thing down under community programs is defensible space assistance for income eligible. And you can click on that and put in an application so you are on the waiting list. The defensible space program is when the crew goes out and basically starts from the house outward, reducing the fuel load and getting it low to the ground. So if there is a wildfire coming through in the area, it will drop to the ground as it approaches the house and hopefully not find anything near the house to be able to start a fire on the house with. So it includes, blowing off the roof, cleaning the gutters, and then thinning things progressively close to the house, ideally making sure there's nothing flammable, no flammable vegetation within the first 5 feet of the house, and cutting and thinning outward. So that's one thing. And then in conjunction with that, as you're doing that work, you tend to, you would limb up your vegetation so that your trees don't have things close to the ground to catch fire. which produces a lot of brush and woody material, which ends up in a chipper pile, which is the sort of complementary program where when people are doing their own defensible space or they've had defensible space done in this program, we can then come by with the chipper and clear it out. So those are the basics. And like I said, I'd like to move on to all the work that's happening out at the reservation. But before we do that, is there anything either Sunny or Orville would like to talk about the work that's going on with the crew and programs so far?
A big majority of fire, especially in the structure, starts from embers. So we try to we look at it and wherever an ember might land and cause a fire, which is most of the time in the gutters or alongside the houses where there's been leaves built up for a long time, we try to clear all those out, and then we try to replace any screens that go to the vents, and we've done that. Screens that get old and rusted, and so ember might find its way in there. So we replace those, and we don't just clear cut because we don't want to take anybody's rose bushes out or any plants that they might value, but we'll trim them up and make them look good though. But so far we've had great cooperation with all the residents and that we've done, and I'm pretty sure we'll get some more registered out there now after this. But it's all been fun.
It's cool. Yeah, the crew's been doing a great job and getting great reviews all around. So it's been a pleasure getting it going.
Yeah, they get along with each other, and everybody kind of fell into their own little strengths on it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I'll chime in a little bit too there, Scott. I think when we looking at the importance of helping some of the elders out, helping the elders out on the reservation, and also outside of here too. Many of them aren't able to get out there and assess their houses, assess the land around their houses, even weed eating. That's important. A lot of them actually out here do live alone, and so to be able to provide that service and make sure they're safe, make sure that their buildings are safe, their houses are safe, their properties defensible, I think is a big deal, especially when we're talking about elders, when we're talking about elderly people who, like I said, aren't able to do that, climb up on and get into the gutters, check those screens, getting those leaves out of there, trimming those bushes up. So it is a big deal, and it does benefit the elders immensely. And so to think about, anybody who's thinking about registering or signing up for the chipper days is I definitely encourage it and hope that we get more people signed up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you've both put, it's a super important point that most homes that get caught up in a wildfire don't get caught up in direct contact through the flames going past. Most homes that go up because the fire, as much as potentially a mile away, sent up an ember that landed on someplace that was vulnerable. So you do yourself a tremendous service by doing the work to, quote, harden your home and do that defensible space clearing. And speaking of that, I wanted to spend a little time talking about all the programs that you've got going on out there addressing that stuff. I know you've got your own annual fuel load reduction plans and home hardening plans, and I think some of the people in the room there are involved in that. Could you tell us a bit about the work you guys have going on out there?
Yeah, we have a whole lot of programs actually that we utilize for an array of things, including home hardening, defensible space, brush clearing. We have youth crews that get on and probably right at the end of school around June to go cut grass around the reservation. There's a lot of along the roadside clearing around elders' homes, people that can't do that weed eating. So we hire a youth crew to go out there and give them some. Build their work ethic, a little bit of background for them to get out there and when they do get in the workforce. And so that's a big deal. Right now we have a crew that's going around doing that. Basically what I just talked about, roadside clearing, weed eating, brush thinning. And that's all part of our environmental protection department. That's one of the many departments we have in the tribe that help us to operate. What many people don't realize is when we talk about tribal government, we mean tribal government in the sense of, there's different functions, different things that we provide services to our membership, from health department, education department, environmental department, roads, maintaining our roads and roadways, trails and things like that. And we have the gymnasium, we have administration, and tribal police. And so there's a bunch of different things that help our government function, just as any government does outside of here. And so it's important to note that when we do talk about tribal government, that's what we're talking about is not just the tribal council or not just administration, but there's many departments that function inside of the government that provide services to our membership, provide services to community members who we have many landowners out here on the reservation that may not be tribal members, but they fall within the jurisdiction of the tribe. And so that our government, many of our resources actually are provided to them when it comes to different things, even the brush clearing, but trash pickup. There's different things that we try to provide to keep the land clean, to keep the waterways clear. And so, they all fall within that jurisdiction. And so it's important to make sure that we're serving the community as a whole, the greater community on the reservation, and obviously the tribal members, but other community members that live on the reservation. So it is a lot, and it is a full functioning government. That's why when we talk about our status as tribes, that's what we talk about as our governmental status, and that's where our partnerships. That's why we're able to develop partnerships with other governments, with the state, with the federal government, and with agencies. To get these things on track and keep things moving forward, and developing those agreements and understandings with different agencies and departments that we're able to partner with and benefit our community.
While we got the folks involved in the youth program out there, maybe we could get them over to talk a little bit about what they've done there and how that experience has been.
It's been a lot of experience for me because, for instance, I never really got out there and cut grass, chop down trees and all that stuff. And people don't think I can do it because I'm a girl. So it's like, well, I'm going to go out there and do it. And so, it's been a lot of experience, and it's good for me to know so I can go and help, other people too along with it. And even if I wanted to get a job with this, it's good to have experience with it and stuff. And it's good to help other people, like helping other people, especially the community and stuff, especially our elders and everything. So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for us and stuff.
I think I was thinking like it is kind of like it's kind of hard work. Not really, it's not too bad. But it is worth it in the end because it is nice seeing how our community looks, just like it's nice seeing, like, you can see everything. Hey, weapon. What was the question?
Like what? When you've been on the work youth crew before, when you started on the youth crew.
Oh, when I started on it. Yeah, when I started on it, I didn't know much. Like she said, it was an opportunity, and I did get to learn like how to work with, like weed whackers. I finally learned how to do my wires. Or like what else? Or like when we took down the bushes, it was like, we got to learn more about chainsaws and just like machines, it was like an opportunity to learn about a lot of things that I didn't know about. So it was nice.
Thank you both. That kind of reminds me, Terry mentioned at some point back when that it might be a long-term ambition to get an all-female crew going as well, which I think is an awesome ambition for the program if we can build it up as time goes by. Great. Thank you. So we were just going to check in with some of the other programs that are going on out there. And the one that I heard about that was intriguing was about using kind of recycled lumber to build some housing for fire hoses. I'm wondering if somebody can fill us in about that a bit.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we had thought about We have, fire hydrants around the reservation, and that go, probably every, a few hundred yards, there's fire hydrants. And so in the area that we're in, a remote area out here and a little ways away from anybody when it comes to emergency response, and being in a high fire danger area, that the best chance we felt like to give some of our members a chance to maybe fight a fire back a little bit, or maybe even save their home, save their neighbor's home, was to station some of these little firehouse or little houses near the fire hydrants, and train some of the members that live there to be able to use it, use the fire hose, use the fire hydrant, so that in the event that the fire does come up close enough to where they'd have to maybe save their home, or some of the people be able to at least wet their yards down, wet the area down with some of the water, I think was important. And a lot of that has to do, like I said, with being in a remote area and not really having a chance, not to sit there and fight the fire back as a firefighter would, but just to know that if it's coming, that you can use that water from the fire hydrant, if you're trained to do so, to turn it on and hook the hose up and wet things down, wet the houses down. As we know, a lot of homes are a little bit older built, and so they're not up to what the standard is today when they have the fire resistant siding or the windows and roofs and different things that, are coming out today that are actually going to be mandated in the state. But when it comes to the embers, when it comes to things blowing in from miles out, I think it's important to have those areas wet and not so dry in August and September. If there's a chance that we can do something to help our members out, help the community out, then that's kind of where the idea came from. And so some of the crew down in the environmental department are working on building those little houses out. We ordered a bunch of fire hoses to come in and put inside of there. And then just have them under lock, and when hopefully, it never comes, but when the time comes for them to have to get in there and do it, we have some of the homes nearby that can access it. Some of our workers, a lot of our employees that do the crews that are in the environmental department are residents here on the reservation too. So to train them and allow them to get in there and fight it back a little bit. Like I said, not when the flames are right on them, but prior to that happening, we might be able to save some homes. So
that's great. That's like a perfect example of, a key part of being ready for wildfire is just being aware of your environment and where your resources are, and how to use them and how to work together with them as a community to make sure they get applied, when the time comes. So that's a perfect example of the kind of thing that communities out there need to be thinking about and doing, looking around and seeing what they got and how to be ready to use it. Love to hear from either Sonny or Orville about what kinds of things you think should happen next out there. What kind of developments and support you'd like to see, and what kind of projects you'd like to see to be ready for the future.
I just kind of look forward to continuing my work. I didn't know if I mentioned earlier, but I'm the Tribal Roads and Transportation Director. So my main job is to maintain the roads and the roadsides. And sometimes that acts as a really good fire break itself, as long as you have them nice and cleaned up. Future projects, I kind of like just hoping that, these youth will come up with some new ideas, just like they did with the little firehouses and the fire hose houses. Last year we didn't have those, but then all of a sudden somebody got an idea, and it's a great idea. So I'm sure that future projects are going to mainly come about by new ideas from these youngsters coming up. I'm really proud of our two girls, the way that they're feeling, how they feel good about themselves getting in there and learning how to use these weed eaters and chainsaws, and I seen them at work in action, and they're doing a really good job. And there's really no doubt in my mind that we will have a all-female crew here soon. So maybe that's one of the projects we want to try to push for, because I know those girls can hang right in there with them guys. I've even seen a couple of them outwork them young guys. So But, it's just all about just moving forward and keeping the momentum going. And I think we've been doing that pretty much. Terry's always coming up with some new ideas. And I know she'll continue to do that. And we've all worked really close together and just make it happen, just like you and I have, Scott, when we first talked about this idea, and then a vision, and now it's a reality. So I'm just leaving that up to the new ideas and imaginations coming up.
Great, thanks, Sonny. Do you have anything you'd want to chime in about what the future, what you'd like to see in the future in this area?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we want to, continue to build on our relationship with the Fire Safe Council, expand on the projects that we're doing now, expand on doing more things when it comes to, reaching out to other people, getting more people involved. Anytime we can look to collaborate with outside agencies, the state, federal government, we're always looking to do those things. But one thing that's important, I think, is collaborating with landowners adjacent to our lands. I know we have about 2,000 acres on the reservation that the tribe is responsible for. And, outside of that, I mean, that's just a small portion of Mendocino County. We look at other tribes and their involvement in getting on some of these things when it comes to fill load reduction, but the collaboration with landowners, because there's a lot of big landowners out here that we, hope to build relationships with and collaborate with to help them in reducing their fill load reduction, as well as, the ones that, like I said, are adjacent to the reservation. It's important because when we look at our responsibility, it's obviously for the reservation, but it's also to make sure that, landowners outside of here are safe as well, that our lands are safe from the adjacent landowners and that brush, the thinning, the fill load reduction that could be done. But throughout Mendocino County, really, I mean, to collaborate and to hopefully bring the crews out there, bring it to some of the other lands that need it. And it's definitely needed throughout the county. I know people are working to try to address it. I would hope that at some point the state would step up and provide some kind of incentive, some tax breaks or something for people to actually work towards clearing these lands out, thinning their land bases, and some of the lands out there that, I mean, it's hard. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money to put into these things. But at some point, I would hope that the state could step in and help to incentivize that, to get people to bring people in, or even the Fire Safe Council to come in and work on some of these lands to thin it out for some of the landowners, and hopefully people buy into what's going on, and understand the reality, the seriousness of what we're dealing with when it comes to fill load reduction, when it comes to fire safety, and it comes to wildfire, and protecting our lands, infrastructure, homes. It's an important thing. So we look to collaborate more, build on relationships that are already there, and make new ones.
Oh, well, great points there. One of which I'll just emphasize too. It came up in the Mendocino County Prescribed Burn Association had some trainings a month or so back, and one of the things they made a really great point of is that wildfire and property lines. Wildfire knows no property lines, and a lot of the times the places that it makes sense to put in breaks, going to follow ridge lines, and those ridge lines cut across property boundaries. So your point about needing to think about this from a bigger perspective and to include your neighbors and neighborhood property owners to figure out where it makes sense, the most sense to do work is a really important point. And let's see, there's still other stuff going on out there. I've still got a bunch on the list that we're probably not going to get to, but there's one on here that Terry put down about Mendocino Lake Sonoma Tribal Environmental Professionals Emergency Response Team, and I'm wondering if we can find out a little bit about what that is about.
The tribes in Lake Sonoma and Mendocino County have monthly meetings of the environmental professionals called Mendocino Lake and Sonoma County Environmental Professionals Team, MLSTEP. And we have identified emergency response as a priority. So we also are trying to have monthly emergency response meetings of the environmental professionals. so that we can identify how the tribes can support each other in their programs in preparing not only for wildfire, but other emergencies such as drought or smoke or or even the pandemic, how we can work together to provide assistance to tribes and support in their programs and their communities. And so we provide workshops and trainings and other opportunities for the tribal environmental professionals to share with their communities what opportunities are for safety and welfare during these challenging times. It's a wonderful opportunity for the tribes to work together and supporting not only the tribes but the entire community in preparing for any natural or emergencies that can occur.
Thank you. So I'm going to wrap around in a minute and see if Orville and or Sunny have kind of any kind of closing or wrap-up comments they'd like to get out to the community. Before I do that, I want to give Cobb a second.
I just have a question from a listener that called in with a question to pass along to you there. In particular, some of the younger folks whose voices we've just been hearing that are working on the ground. They're wondering about the plants that they've been working with, and as they've been brush clearing, what they're noticing themselves and what they're learning about the plant life as they're working in the environment out there and what that's been like for them.
Honestly, there's a lot of plants that are good to use. Like there's this one where we use a lot of plants as like medicine and stuff. You know, we still use it as medicine, so we try not to chop it down and stuff. And even like the flowers, we try to keep the flowers up and all that. But we did learn about different plants and stuff and what they're used for and stuff like that. So we did get to learn a little bit about that and stuff. So
yeah, yeah, we started to learn about a lot of different plants, and we started to steer clear towards those ones, you know, because they're useful. But it is kind of hard too, because they do blend in with a lot of the other stuff, you know, but once you start to learn about them, you start to point them out. And like when we first started this job, like we didn't really we know how poison oak looked, but not so much. And so we ended up getting a big old pile of poison oak, and it was just like, but now we see it and it's like everywhere. So we're like, oh, well, that's poison oak. But yeah, you know, it's been useful to learn a lot of things.
Well, thanks. Quick wrap around on the, I wanted to make sure people know about how to get in touch and get the crew engaged if they want to help with that. One thing I didn't mention is that the crew can be hired for other jobs outside of chipper days and outside of the senior defensible space work. So if you have a large project and want some clearing done, you can get in touch with us through probably the easiest way is email. The email to use would be admin@firesafemendocino.org. So admin@firesafemendocino.org. If you want to get in touch with arranging to get a crew to help with your defensible space clearing, or if you've done a bunch of brush clearing and need some chipper work, we can potentially help with that. And again, if you want to get signed up for a chipper day, it's www.chipperday.com/Mendocino. And you can also go to our website, firesafemendocino.org, and look under community programs to find out more about the chipper days, or to sign up for the income eligible senior defensible space work. So those are all ways you can help us keep this going and keep the group that's been trained up there and is doing such great work employed and on the job. Also mention quickly, if you're interested in the Hopland area, particularly, that we are going to be doing a Hopland Community Wildfire Protection Plan that really focuses in on the Hopland area and what needs to happen there, short and long term. So if you're interested in that, you should also get in touch through admin at firesafemendocino.org, and we can get you plugged into that process. And with that, I wanted to turn it back over. We're kind of right in the wrap-up zone. We're going to try to drive this home on time for once. Sonny or Orville, do you have any concluding comments you'd like to make?
I just like to say thank you to KZYX for giving us this opportunity to get our voices heard out there. And thank you again, Scott, for the Fire Safe Council. Thank you, Terry, Sonny, everybody that's involved in putting everything together. And thank you to the youth that participated today. It's really, really good to hear your voices. And thank you.
Sweet. Thank you, Orville. Sonny.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Scott. Thank you to KZYX for allowing us to get on here today. Thank you to our staff for the hard work, dedication from the crew. And one thing I just kind of leave you with is we always talk about, especially nowadays, about catastrophic wildfires, horrible wildfires, the worst wildfires we've seen. But fire isn't always a bad thing. And I think it's really projected in a bad light a lot of times. And to think about it in a good way of saying, we can utilize fire. It can be managed in a good way. And it's definitely healthy for the landscape and the environment. To keep that in mind, because it's not always a bad thing. It is a good thing. And I know as tribal people, we utilize it in a lot of good ways, and it helps us in what we do as our people. And so just to remember that it's not always a horrible thing. It's not always a bad thing, as long as we manage our own resources, manage our own landscape that can actually be utilized in a lot of good ways. So thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. And we look forward to interacting with many of you out there in the community.